There are literally tens of thousands of reports of apparitions of the Blessed Mother up and down the Catholic centuries. We've already explored the appearance to Bernadette at Lourdes. I want now to turn to a most extraordinary encounter between the Blessed Mother and, typically enough, one of her little ones. On December the 9th, 1531, just about 10 years after the Spaniards first brought the faith to this part of the world, an Indian man named Juan Diego, a recent convert to the faith, was making his way here along this hill of Tepeyac where I'm standing. He was on his way to Mass. He heard a burst of bird song. He turned to see where it was coming from, and he saw an extraordinary sight. There was a woman clothed in celestial light. She announced herself as the Mother of the Most High God, and she had a simple request for Juan Diego. He would ask the bishop to build a temple here in her honor. Being a simple, humble man, Juan Diego went directly to the bishop. He relayed the story to him. He took it in, but he also said, "I'd like a sign." Juan Diego returned here to Tepeyac on December the 12th. She invited him to take off his tilma. That was the simple, coarse garment worn by peasants. It was woven from cactus fibers. And in that tilma, she helped him to arrange a group of roses that were blooming despite the lateness of the year. That would be the sign for the bishop. Juan Diego took the bundle of roses. He went directly to the bishop. He was made to wait for a while. They say that officious aides of the bishop tried to find out what he was hiding in the tilma, but he wouldn't show them. Finally, he was ushered into the bishop's presence. He opened the tilma, the roses spilled to the ground, but then to his great surprise, the bishop and his aides were kneeling because something even more amazing had happened. On the inside of the tilma, there was the image of the woman clothed in light. One might be tempted to say, oh, it's a charming story from a simpler, more credulous time. But the best counter-indication to the skeptics is the tilma itself, which you can see directly behind me. Studies have shown that it is indeed from the 16th century. It is indeed woven from those simple cactus fibers, which under the best of circumstances would normally last 20 or 25 years. And yet, there it is, 500 years later. And the image, the strange and beautiful image. Careful studies have revealed that no known pigmentation was involved in the making of it, and no underdrawing is discernible. More to it, the symbolic power of it is extraordinary. Here is a mestiza, not a Spaniard, not an Aztec, but a blend of the two races. She's called by the Mexicans La Morena, the brown-skinned girl. The cincture that she wears was an Aztec sign of pregnancy. She stands in front of the sun and on the moon, and her cloak is bedecked with stars. Sun, moon, and stars were all gods for the ancient Aztecs. This woman is greater than they. At the same time, she keeps her eyes down and her hands folded in prayer, acknowledging that there is one greater than she. And her name, Guadalupe, is probably a Spanish deformation of Coatlasupe. It means the one who crushes the serpent. The serpent was another chief Aztec divinity, and the crusher of the serpent is the one predicted in the book of Genesis. It is an undisputed fact that within 10 years of the apparition, almost the entire Mexican nation was converted to Christianity. 9 million people. This amounts to approximately 3,000 people per day for 10 years. A mini Pentecost every day for a decade. And the image continues to beguile, fascinate, and beckon. The shrine of Our Lady of Guadalupe is one of the most visited religious sites in the Christian world. People come here by the millions to commune with La Morena. some approaching her in supplication, penitence, or gratitude, on their knees. There are literally tens of thousands of stories of Marian apparitions up and down the centuries. Let's say many of which, if not most of which, are questionable. There are, however, some, maybe a handful, that are harder to dismiss, and they kind of haunt the mind. There's something about the detail of them, something about the integrity of the account, but then also, I would say, the consequences. You judge a spiritual act by its fruit. What's the result of it? You look at a place like this, and you can see this massive, first of all, the conversion of Mexico, which is the most extraordinary thing about Guadalupe. Within 10 years of the apparition, the entire country has been converted. Where prior to that, the Franciscans had about 10 years, they'd made very few inroads. Juan Diego was kind of an odd duck, an Aztec who would become a Christian. In the wake of Guadalupe, the entire country is converted. And then to this day, almost 500 years later, people still come. Contrasted to kind of a silly thing where people see an image of Mary in the salt dripping from the highway overpass. Remember, that was a few years ago in Chicago. Well, no one bothers about that. That had no effect. No one goes there to this day. So I think you judge it by its fruit, by its consequences.